Okay, so this month we are doing native art forms from across the world. Some of them are going to be native but still in use, contemporary forms as well. But mostly I will be focusing on them as a historic artifact that gives us an insight into different cultures. So every place, many cultures have developed their own form of art with the materials that they have around them, telling stories about them. So it's only now in the past, maybe 100 years or so, that people who are in charge of either exploring or discovering any of these artifacts across the world have realized the value of restore or storing them even. Throughout history, you'll notice that till in some places, yes, like regarding Egypt and all, there was awareness even before that. But one can say till about 150 years ago, all this was looked as garbage and it was either repurposed. If there were metal objects, they were melted down to make some new metal. And if they were things like books or artifacts that looked like junk, they were usually just burnt away or discarded. So now things have changed dramatically thanks to all these things being burnt in the past, and people have woken up and said, "Oh my God, what did we do?" The fact that ancient cultures have so much knowledge in itself is a new idea. So all the artifacts that we find are, I guess, newer scientists like the anthropologists, archaeologists are looking at it more from what we can learn from ancient wisdom. So the Mayan culture, which was a continuous culture from about the third century BC, and before that, because it's just that some of the artifacts were found in around dating to around third century BC. So the culture must have grown before that to almost the 14th century when they started having these conflicts with the Aztecs in the same region. And finally, the Spanish just came and just wiped the slate clean completely. So it was a very large period of one civilization growing. So there must have been some kind of order, a lot of control over their own region, and also some kind of sophisticated political system because of which it remained in power and flourished to the degree that they flourished in whatever manner that they did. I mean, we are not here to judge that just because they weren't doing what we do, which was the European way of defining civilized or uncivilized. They were not. So if there were people who wore a certain type of clothing, they were civilized. Then, by the time they were found, it was also thought that only if you're Christian, you are civilized. Everybody else is jungly. So, all these were, I mean, you can think about this as almost like a juvenile way of looking at things. If I know this as the world, this is true, then everything else is false. So, of course, over time, people have matured and things have changed, and that civilization has been given its due as a culture that knew a lot about their environment, about living in that environment and flourishing over there. It is believed that the Mayans and the Aztecs did not develop a wheel. So their pottery is pinch pottery. I find that really hard to believe that you could have such an advanced civilization that could not use a wheel. They do have wheels in the form of a calendar, but they did not use it for pottery. That is the belief. And I'm going to share a bunch of resources that you must watch. It's absolutely fascinating. So, as you can tell in the research that I have done, I can go on till the cows come home about everything about this culture, but I'm going to urge you to listen for yourself and watch these videos. As of for today, we are going to create a picture that is going to resemble like an ancient frieze or a sculpture that was made, found in a very cute, the name of the place was very cute. It was Yaxchilan. So that's spelled Yaxchilan. And this was the geography and everything is there in the talks that I will share with you. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But let me speak about what the script is all about, and that should be able to help us understand more. All right, so this is what's called a codex. A codex is nothing but a book, basically. Anything that is written on a flat surface that can be bound together or folded together is called a codex. So, technically, all the books that we use to read are codices, but just for the sake of simplicity, now anything that is written on stuff other than conventional paper is called a codex. So, all historic documents are called codices. This is one which you can see there are some pictures and there are some weird looking symbols on the top and bottom, and there are some sections where there are dots and lines. So bear in mind that I have done this research for all of maybe a day and a half, but so it's not going to be comprehensive. The information I'm giving you is just literally what I have remembered from watching 4 or 5 different YouTube videos. But from that, what I've gleaned is that these are possibly pictures of events, and what these events are is written in these glyphs. So these pictorial or icon like images are the alphabet, but they're not an alphabet like we conventionally know them as an A, B, C, D, which are strung along laterally from one direction to another and can together form words, and the words will form sentences. In this case, each of these symbols are like a sound which means something. And the meaning is it's like a picture that is put together and then you attach other things to it, almost like magnets. So you have a central main form onto which a secondary form is attached to make a sound. And sometimes you will find there are dots around this as well, which indicate that that sound has to be repeated. So in this case, let's see. Same thing, these are pictures of an event occurring. There are dots and lines which probably signify numbers. And then you have these which are words or even phrases, full phrases at a time. A symbol like this could mean a phrase like somebody is coming from one town to another town. The whole thing could be written in something as simplified as this just because of these very complicated shapes. They can also be figures for calendar dates. They can be like you would have hieroglyphs, the names of certain royalty, or also of animals. Everything fit into this. So the places where you found this script and all the illustrations were either in what we call stele, which is just rock pillars onto which these descriptions would be carved. I'm going to share a picture of that as well. And then you have ceramics. So this is how they, I think, believe that this is like a beaten pottery, like you sometimes see Japanese pottery, which is not thrown on a potter's wheel, but is beaten and then it is rolled to create these cups. And look at the exquisite line work on this. It's just amazing. So here again, you have some kind of toad-like creature and you have letters written all around it. This almost looks so casually done because, it looks like the general cursive hand of the Mayan script. I'm just joking about that. I don't even know if this is it's possible to write this in any kind of cursive form. All right, so here is a more simplified modern interpretation of certain glyphs. I have no idea what this means. I could not find the meaning. And this is the same thing in color. Let me just zoom back and forth and you will see. Just keep your eyes on any one of the glyphs and see how it is interpreted as maybe carved on stone. This will help us make the line work, and this will help us create the painting so that it looks like it is three-dimensional and just carved very lightly onto a sandy stone or something like that. Here's another very nice graphic if you want to practice more. And then these are pictures of the original codices. There are apparently only 4 such documents that survived a mass burning of all Mayan books in the early 17th century. So the last one was burnt, I think, in 1614. So that entire culture and its history was totally destroyed. Look at this, so beautiful. It's so complex that I think the Europeans just couldn't get it. There was a fellow, somebody named Delanda, that you'll hear of constantly. He was a priest, and he apparently sat one of these Mayan scribes down and said, okay, I want you to give me a symbol for A and for B and C, because that's his only understanding of how letters are written. And so he said, okay, I just want you to give me this, and I'm going to be able to string this together and understand your language and write it. And they tried to do that for a bit, and it was complete rubbish. But this is such an example of how we try to learn something new. It's always from a place of what we know, that we try to then see whether we can understand what we don't know. But there are sometimes cases in the unknown that things can be so different, you don't even realize what the possibilities might be. Like, for example, the grammar in the Mayan language is completely different. You have the fact that one symbol can be an entire phrase. It was just unthinkable. So yeah, there's a 2-hour lecture by a professor. If you have the time, do watch it, because it's a very humorous lecture, but it's also very informative. All right, so we are going to do a quick writing of a few words. I found symbols for the words food, dog, and chocolate. It's ironic that I have to put all these together, because maybe I should find something for do not along with this string, because I believe chocolate is not good for dogs. So it should not be given to dogs. All right. So as you can see, the script is written in a particular form. The letters are written close to each other in what look like little blocks. So we are going to try and mimic the same. And somewhere I read that they are written in a 1, 2, 3, 4 fashion. We just have 3 of these, so I'm just going to write them one below the other on the left side of the page. So this will give you an idea of how this looks. And then later on, we will be making one of the figure paintings, not just the letters, because the figures are equally intriguing. Right, so for the page, I'll just give you a composition so that you know how your page should eventually look. At least my page I'm visualizing is going to look. And if you want to, you can follow the same order, but of course you are completely free to make your own compositions and try them out. So I'm going to make the initial letters over here, because that is part of just understanding how the letters are done. Then we will be making the figure over here. Along with the figure, there are a few letter forms on that frieze as well. So we know how to insert them right above it. So I'm assuming that this is as large as our picture is going to be. It's a very complicated picture, so we may finish it today. I might let you do it later at home or whatever. We'll see how it goes. So let's start. We are going to draw with pencil first, and we may need the pen later, but let's keep that as an option. The graphite of the pencil gives us a very nice soft outline as opposed to the very hard line of the micron tip pen. But if we need to emphasize certain things, we can move to the micron tip pen later on. So I'm making three, not all together, but I'm visualizing making three boxes, one below the other in this form. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3. Visualize them first and then make the first box. Leave a little room on the left and the top because you don't want your lines to come too close to the edge. That's a little disturbing for a composition. If you're comfortable drawing a square with rounded edges, making it continuous in a continuous line, then go ahead and do that. Or this is how I do it to make sure that my square looks nice and square. First, I will draw the lines on opposite sides, and then I will join the corners so that they look nice and uniform. Very often, if we try drawing this in one shot, one or two lines goes a little off. Actually, one of my lines has already gone off even in this. Okay, now inside of this, we will make two more concentric rectangles like this with rounded edges. One second, I'm just going to have to take this call. Okay, sorry. So yeah, two concentric inside. So we've got three squares. Mine has become rectangular, but we need squares. It's okay. Now, from all four corners, we will make a squarish line like this, again with a rounded corner, leaving some room in the center. In the center of the lines also, this could have been more uniform. This is horrible, but I hope there are no Mayans who are going to object to this. And put a dot in the center. This will be the symbol for food. Don't write the word food right now. We are writing only 3 words, so we should be able to write that in after everything has been drawn. Okay. Now for the next one, we're going to draw a rectangle shape. This is going to be the word dog. So dog is a little complicated. So I want you to make this big enough. We will make 2 concentric squares. Now on the top right of this inside square, not right at the top, a little distance from the corner but still on the top side, we are going to make a shape like this. I just want you to observe this. Watch this first. Watch how I make this, because these shapes are very complicated if you don't see how to draw them. So I have an inverted half U, and then I have a shape like this, like an bottom of the U with a rounded edge on the left. So this is like a heart squished in the corner. From the top part of this bump here, I will draw a line that goes, I just want you to see this line before you draw it. It goes straight out, then goes inward, then back out, and then starts going sideways. Then does this thing and comes and stops here. Now this is going to be the head, nose, and top lip of the dog. We need some room at the bottom to make the bottom and the jawline. But I've stopped over here because I have to make the teeth. So I'll wait for you all to draw this and then I will draw the rest. So it is said that either all the Mayans were great artists or only artists could become scribes. And yesterday I did part of this in the children's class in the evening, and they said definitely the Mayan children did not go to school, because imagine giving an exam writing like this. It is going to take forever. They must have had like a whole day exam. All right, now we're going to start drawing the teeth from the back. We will draw a canine, another tooth in the middle, and then another tooth right at the front, which is slightly bigger. And the reason we draw the teeth first is so that our bottom lip can go behind them. There's a very complex overlapping, underlapping happening here. Come out from the side, go below the teeth, and then flare up like a proper jaw and join up here below what looks like the ear now. Okay, now to this we will draw an eye. Oh wait, first we'll draw the nose, which is just an upturned line like this. And then you have an eye shape, which is slightly complicated. You have a curve. One would think that they could just draw a regular eye, but I don't know why they draw it like this. Then you have a line going down, and you have a crude eyebrow also like that. Let me just confirm this. Wait. Okay, this is as best as I can see right now. 1 second. Okay, yeah. So this is the face. I think we can draw a semicircle to complete the eye. And then at the bottom, we have to draw 3 U shapes, but not like the fat bottom of the U. You start off from the center because that is the narrowest one. And then you have 2 which are slightly rounded on one end like this, and on the outer end of the right as well. And then from the inside of that you create a curve. So this looks like an underlapped swirl and would look great in a carving. The center U shape also has a double line. So when you see this, you can imagine how complex the writing system is. And if you're going to put a face of the animal on that, I think you know that that is a dog. So there must be something more to just this as well. Of course, this might be the most direct way to say dog, but they could be using this as another part of a word or a phrase elsewhere. Now, the last one is very interesting, and one of the videos I'm going to share with you will show you how to write this word also. This is chocolate, and chocolate in the original language is called cacao, not chocolate. I think chocolate came much later. So for that, I'll give you the word first, and then I'll explain how it works. So right underneath this, we are going to make two parallel lines like the left side of a box, but only the left side. And fill the inside box with these diagonal lines. This is the first part of the word. Now, we are going to leave a little room from the bottom because we have two appendages coming here, and we are going to make a shape that looks like this. Again, the bottom of a U shape that goes all the way to the top here. So it's like a very squarish U shape, or an inverted L, or an L that is sleeping with rounded edges. Now, from the top, or where should we start this? Okay, forget it. We're going to draw two bumps over here. One bump right at the top of the line on the left, then a small bump, and then a large bump that goes round almost all the way, but just at the end it dips and then goes and joins the top. So you start off with rounding the line on the left, a little inside, then a small bump, then a large bump, and that goes all the way up. After that little dip inside, that dip can also turn inward, but now I've done it. Then at this point where we've made that middle bump, there's a dot, and at the point where we have the big bump, there's an oval shape. It is going to start looking more like an eye. So we have an eye, nostril. On the left top, we have what looks like a pupil as well. And then from the right side of that oval is a line that goes up, almost looking like an eyeliner line. At the bottom left of this glyph, we will make another curved shape, which is going to look like an open mouth. And just at this base, we will make another curved line like this, which doubles over onto itself. I feel sometimes whoever the inventor of the Mayan alphabet was must have been like a detail-oriented artist. Like sometimes how I feel that there are so many places, like this is a sheet of paper that was to be thrown away, but it was so pretty that I said, no, I don't want to throw away. I want to try my pen. Then I tried my pen. It was just a newly filled ink pen. And I made a line that felt so good that I decided I want to make more lines. It was completely unnecessary. That is what I feel sometimes the Mayan inventor of the alphabet must have done. So now in this, we are going to add two lines in the mouth and a bunch of lines at the end in the same direction as the first line. This completes our syllable. This syllable is, and we're going to write that over here, is a ka. Now, in the word cocoa or cacao, this syllable is repeated twice. So, on the top left of
Doesn't it
this,
look like a cat?
sorry,
Doesn't it look like a cat?
does it look like a cat, you think? Maybe it is.
Yeah.
And calf or cat might work. So there are these two dots on the top left of this syllable that indicates that you have to say this twice. So you have to say ka. And then we need the sound oo. Now I believe for oo there is only one set form, which would be like a fish tail at the bottom. I'm going to show you how that is done. You can draw from slightly to the right, you can draw a curve that comes to the left, turns around and goes back to somewhere where it started. This coincidence is not necessary. Then you draw two lines on that little appendage and a third line from the top to make it look like one part of a fishtail. It could also look like the bottom of a hockey stick. And on the other side, we will draw an oval like this, part of an oval. And from there, we will draw two lines coming like this. Now, this part is supposed to be ooh ah, like ooh ah. And I don't know whether one is ooh and the other is ah, or this is how it is. And apparently, the last vowel was dropped. So this would read as ka into two and ua or kaka u. And that's the word for chocolate. So this was apparently they saw this on certain vessels in which they found remnants of chocolate. I don't know how much that is true. This is all Google knowledge. Okay, so these are our three glyphs. And now to write the word very succinctly, turn your book to the side and write them over here. Not too close to the, excuse me, not too close to the glyphs. Keep about half a centimeter or so away and write them in what looks like a single straight line. So, cacao, dog. Try to write the letters spaced out and to somewhat central, aligned to the symbol that we've made. And this is food. So this is our practice of how lettering can be done. This time when we did the art retreat, this was not just this time, every time. How do we do the lettering? How do we do the titling? All that comes rushing at you because we are not really focusing on doing lettering and titling. So I want to give you ideas on how many different ways you can letter in a composition and make everything look more thought out. If you had written these words over here, especially at an angle like this is food, this is dog, this is cacao. Of course, in notes we make things like that, but your notes can also look pretty. There's no reason why your notes need not look pretty. Okay, so now let's start with this. One second.
For, for all the intricacy, the food one is the most boring.
Is it is you're
No,
right.
I mean, food could have so much variety, but they've just had four parts of a plate. It looks like a pav bhaji thali.
You're right. It looks like an empty plate actually. Okay. So I think there are some very interesting pictures in this. I'm going to share one other picture with you, which has a very interesting history, but it's a very complicated picture, so I won't do that. Let's make this little uh, condor-like creature. So try and make it like as if the original artist might have made it. You can make this one. Actually, I should just let you decide which one you want to make, because it's not. It's like you can figure out, right, how to make this step by step, or do you want me to do one with you and then you can do another one for yourselves? Okay, let's try this condor and then you can make another one. So if you can keep that picture open so you know what I'm speaking about. Let's start off first with, I'm just going to make it about this big. So the circle needs to be not too large. We'll make the condor over here and then we'll make another one. I'll leave that to you to make at a later stage. So this fellow, the body is going to be about this big and the eye fits in about 1/4 of the space. So I'm making the big circle of the eye. You have one big circle. And inside that, traveling from the left hand side, you have a swirl that goes inward. And turns inside a little bit, and then there's an eye or a circle attached to that. So they're not concentric circles. Then you will draw a little eyeball or pupil looking up. Then we have the shape of the beak, which is pointing upward. So you have a bump coming down, but say at an angle of about somewhere between 1 and 2 o'clock on the circle. And the lines going out about the same. Now remember, since these were handmade illustrations, all our illustrations are going to look very different. So I would advise you to refrain from erasing if it is a minor difference. So in case instead of making this bump, say you make a straight line ahead, just make a bump underneath that. It's not a big deal. Now parallel to the left of the beak, I'm drawing a line that comes down and curves. So these few shapes are a little complex to draw in the beginning. Like this one shape looks like a fold because you first make the hook and then from around the hook you will make the U shape. So you'll notice that this is very much like the ear shape of the dog. And there are plenty of these in the human forms, you'll see them. Don't get overwhelmed with them. There's usually one shape that forms the inside curl and then there's another shape that forms the outside of the curl. Alright, now after this we will draw 3 almost rectangular ended what look like feathers, and try to get the outer shape first, then fill in the inside. We don't have to fill this in, we can do that in paint. At the level of the second feather, we have one wing going up and turning, so it's pretty horizontal at the top, and then one is going up to 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock and the other one is almost coming towards 3 o'clock, but it's not longer than the beak. I think my beak has become a little small. So more or less the same size. And then we have these 4.5 or 5 scallop shapes. So make the scallop shape this way. just the regular scallop shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now it's easy enough to make the other shapes as well. So you make, these are simple rounded shapes. It's only the coloring inside that gives us that a very interesting turn. I'll get to that. So 4 feathers are pretty long, and then you have a short 5th feather. And on the right, we will do the same thing, but make the feather shapes from the right side. Here there are 6 feathers and they are slightly thinner. 3, 4, 5, and the 6th is not visible. We have the body now. Is everyone with me, or would you like me to go a little slower? All right, okay. Now we will create the body like this, which is just bottom of a jar maybe. On the left side, we have another tail feather, and then you actually have the feathers of the tail. So only one is pointing upward, and then all the others are pointing down. Then we have one more feather coming towards the front, and then in the front we have this odd looking leg which has talons at the bottom. First these, and then we have 2 in the top. So this is the basic form. We have one more eye on the right, but this is the back of the eye on the right, which is the left eye of the bird. And then we will make this shape inside. That makes the feather shape more interesting. That's how I see it. So you have a dash and turn towards the outside. Same thing over here. You come up, you make a curve like this. Then you go for the long feathers. There's a completely different technique of painting the feathers. Each of the smaller feathers have got only a shadow-like shape. The feather right at the end travels below the feathers on top and finishes up over there, and the remaining feathers just make a square on top and then a parallel line to its own edge. What an interesting way of coloring and creating dimension just with 2 colors. Then there's a shadow on the belly. The same thing for the rest of the feathers as well. What I find fascinating is in every art form, or whether it is old or new, there are so many techniques used just for art, just for conveying a thought or an idea, which is absolutely fascinating. How to show dimension, how to show texture, what are the options that are available to us. It's just unending, all these things. Okay, so now let's just paint around it. There are very few other very dark elements. So you can maintain the same line and paint the sections which are dark, or you can go over these lines with paint, with a pen, whatever you prefer. And then after that, we will make that blue texture in the back, which I assume is the sky. Then that little red line with the four dots on top, the black line which almost looks like a Hindu symbol, and then one red line at the bottom to complete the picture. So if you are making uh, if you're not making the lines, then we can start painting right away. I'm using a mix of cobalt blue and a little bit, sorry, not cobalt, cerulean blue and a little bit of emerald green. Because what we see as blue really is a blue green shade, and I'd like to match that as far as possible. Of course, now this is all because of the screen that we see, all those things are there, but still, if it looks good as you see it, then you can replicate that. So with the pencil, I am just making a loose border around the bird where I will put in my blue lines. This way I have some guidance to where to begin and end the line. If you need more, you can draw each individual line in pencil also, and then start making these, because these lines need to be look like they go past the bird on both sides evenly. I've made mine too close, you can make them a little further apart. To maintain the handmade look, which will come very naturally to us, your lines may or may not be the same thickness, or straight or not, or looking like they continue behind the bird or not. All of that will make the picture look nice, not bad. Just remember that graphite is very loose. So while you are painting this, if your hand is moving on the paper too much, just keep it a little lightly on touching the paper. Don't go over this too much, over the drawing. This bird, in fact, looks like a character from the Muppet Show called Gonzo. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Muppet Show. He looks almost exactly like this. Okay, that's done. I think there is a line on top as well, so I'm going to make a line right on top of this, touching all the lines on top. I want to make a line at the bottom also, though I don't see it there. I'm just going to make it nonetheless. And then below this, I will use burnt sienna, and use a very watery burnt sienna, very, very watery, in which then we will drop some concentrated paint, because I want this to look like it's a weathered line. So these are supposed to be numbers, and this one would be 5 plus 4, I think. Every horizontal line is a 5 or multiple thereof. So 5, 10, two lines would be 10, almost like the lines and cross. I don't know what that system is called. The jailbird uh, calendar. All right, now that this is done, I will go ahead and paint the rest in our usual black. This is just one pure regular black. No mixes, no concentration of other colors like I normally do, simply because I want this black to look a little less dense and to almost look a little gray. When you want your black to look deep and dark, you should mix other colors in it. The combination of the pigments of all the other colors you mix in it will make your black much deeper, much darker. Right now, it is looking pretty deep because it's wet, as is the case with many watercolors. As it dries, it will start becoming slightly lighter, and sometimes it might just look like a darker pencil shading if it is done right. Again, now this part you can ink with a pen also. If you're uncomfortable or unsure of your painting, then go ahead and use a pen for the whole thing. A pen, a marker, anything is fine. And if you are unsure about your painting with a thin pen, use that some time to practice with, so that you get better with your fine line work. Like that doodle texture that I showed a little earlier, you can practice making lines with just brush and paint also, in order to make your line more confident. And also make yourself more familiar with the brush. Each brush has its own quirks, literally. They almost have come with a built-in personality. So some brushes have a very nice edge. Look at this brush. This fellow decided that he is going to be flat on one side and just throw out one hair on one side, which is going to be pointy. So I have to turn this in a particular direction only if I want a particular result. Otherwise, it fishtails on me. There's a Marathi saying, "Kale kale ni ghya," which is so like your brushes should be done because it has the word kala in it. but it's just meant to say that every person has their quirk, and you need to identify the quirk and then work according to that quirk so that you get what you need from that interaction. So apparently now there is a revival of the Mayan script. There are still some people around who trace their lineage to the old Mayan civilization, living in Mexico and Guatemala and Belize, and possibly in other countries around that region as well. They they currently write their language in the Latin script, just like English or Spanish. But I believe either they themselves or the local governments together are coming to try to reintroduce this as a language or script because of its successful decipherment. So if you are interested in this rabbit hole and you decide to do a Google search, you will come across an even more intriguing and interesting claim by certain Indian scholars that the Mayans were also Hindus. So I usually read these with a pinch of salt because there's no telling authenticity of the videos or of the data, but it's fun if you just want to indulge yourselves in a what if scenario. So, what struck me the most from that video was the name that he used. He said that there was, according to, was it Ramayana or Mahabharata? No, I don't know my own mythology so well, but there was a character named Ghatotkach who had built what is called Maya Nagari, and it was built in a place where everything was opposite. So it was in a place where when it was daytime here, it was nighttime there, which is quite an interesting description of the other side of the planet. And the word or the name Ghatotkach is so close to some really, really Mayan words or names that I just felt the coincidence was too much. So there were some claims of some common words and all also. Just watch it for fun. I think it's really sweet. Okay, now I'm finishing up the little dot on the right as well. So the second line comes somewhere here. Even at this stage, one can go over the lines with a pen. Over the pen line is so fine. Oh, it's not looking nice. Not very happy. I must try this with a thin brush. Hopefully, this one, lopsided, should do a good job. Yeah, this uneven line itself will look nice. A very even line can look very pachak. Too perfect. I forgot one line here. Now you can think about how you can apply this art form. One is the simplification of shapes you can study. Simplification and embellishment also. So, while on the one hand you are converting the very complex shapes of a bird to just these few lines, on the other hand, you are embellishing it with so many unnecessary but beautiful elements so that it becomes a work of art. From each of these, you can also see how you can create a graphic form for all of these elements, which in the past, when you're making realistic illustrations, you really don't have any need for that. So, how to compress the form of a bird into a foreshortened image like this one, and in the presence of so many lines creating so many lovely textural separations, even a little bit of imperfection, like the size of this leg is just crazy. It adds to the beauty of the bird. So, where we fret so much in exactitudes, we can allow for a few things to remain less than conventionally perfect, but yet adding to the overall balance and aesthetic of the design. I think this is much better. So let me just tell you where this is from. I'll just go back to where I got this image from. I have so many windows open now on this Mayan culture. It's not funny. Oh, I have no reference of this image. As in, I don't know which codex this comes from, but this is just called the Good Bird. Okay, let me share some other images on this. Oh, so it's there in the articles that I have shared. I'm going to share with you. Right now, we can do something else. All right. Oh, Janita, you're showing something. I didn't even see. How cute. Very nice. Kyra has also done this yesterday. So you can compare notes literally.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh wow, everyone's birds are looking beautiful. How cute. Very nice. Great. Now you can choose any of the other motifs from the rest of the pictures that I've shared, and maybe we can start making that for now. And in case you feel any complications, you can tell me, then I can help you out with that. You could also consider illustrating that the cup that requires you to first draw the cup itself, which is not very difficult, and make it look weathered, and then make the drawing even possibly in pencil, and then go over that with another coat of like a very light yellow ochre, so that that seals in the pencil line. Okay, so I think I'm gonna make these. There are these. Let me look for some more images. So just so you know, let me just show you this. In this one, see this figure? These are from the original codex, which you will see here. See? It's the same figures. You can try making these. It's quite beautiful. And you might consider making this entire panel. You could try to make it look like it's weathered as well. Looks like this is all in one whole sheet of paper. By the way, they made this paper from a fig tree, which is supposed to be even better than papyrus. So you can make half of this, or you can make this whole page of the codex. Should be fun. And then if you can make it on the right side of your book, then that, if it turns out good, you can even cut that sheet up and frame the picture. So in this section, you can try making that. Let's try. This is not something we're going to finish in the 7 minutes that we have left in class. So I will just mark out the area, leaving about 1 finger space from the edge of my bird and make it in this section. Now, just so that I go do a little bit of lettering with you for this, on the bottom left over here, let's try Maya lettering or Maya glyphs. So I want you to see this first. Don't draw with me, just observe. Wherever basic principles of graphic design for page layout is look for the frame, look for the empty spaces, and keep those empty spaces organized. So you think of a very planned city where everything connects to everything and the negative space moves around very smoothly. So if these lines are not aligned at the top, it can look a little odd. Forget these points, they're too little to be considered. But you have this line, you have this line, and this line. If they are in one line, they are aligned, they will make sense. Similarly, at the bottom, writing your name Maya glyphs over here is perfectly fine. But if you write it too low on the page, it won't look good. But the best place for it would be to align it to where this second part of your page is going to come. So you can write Maya glyphs or glyphs of the Mayan civilization so that you can use up this page. The word in that also, Maya or Mayan, is more important than civilization. So you can make civilization small, give more room to Mayan, and then you can write something on top of that. So this is how labeling is done. As far as possible, do not label your art before you do the art. Don't write the date in the top right or top left corner. Remember, the date is only for you. It's not for a tyrant teacher who is going to give you marks based on how you did not start the work with writing the book, the date. So, dates and titles on any creative work must come last, simply because the date is not the date that you start the work, but when you end the work. The reason we write dates at the top in text is because starting point is important. You should know where you're beginning from and at what time and at what date, so that as you proceed, you can keep changing the date, but you will know the chronology. Right, now in this case, the word Mayan is simple enough. We have 5 letters. I have drawn these lines all the way across, but I don't think I want to make the title this large. I have aligned it a little to this side, maybe only a centimeter from inside. I will write the word civilization, but it's really big. So use a rough sheet of paper. Like I have written this for yesterday's title, write your title on this first. And you can write in the back of the book as well. So you can write glyphs of or we can keep that optional, of the Mayan civilization. So even when you're writing that in rough, try to write it in the particular arrangement that you wanted, the alignment, center align, left align, right align, whatever. So first, note the number of letters you have in the biggest word. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means we need to divide this space into 12 sections. This is how we do it. We have identified the space from this side to this side. Now cut the space in half. So you get room for 6 letters and 6 letters on either side. Then divide that in half again. So you have effectively got space for 3, 3, 3, and 3. That makes 12 letters. And in any space, you can visually divide it pretty well into half or thirds. And that's good enough. So then in this little section, I'll divide it into three parts. Three parts. So at least I get some idea where to start and finish the letters. Now let's try writing these letters in pencil. Now you'll remember that two or three of the letters over here are I's, which use very little space. So you can consider spacing out the letters even a little unevenly so that all the letters are evenly spaced visually. The original 12 blocks were only meant to give you an idea of space distribution. Now, the center line remains the same, and the word Mayan has only 5 letters, so we can write the word Y, letter Y here. On either side, you will write A and A, same distance apart, and on one side, you will write an M, and the other side, you will write an N. This should be easy to fit after you have written the word civilization. Let me bring this closer. Maybe you can see this. And as far as the glyphs is concerned, again, right, two thin lines on top. You'll see that I've made multiple lines over here. Somewhere over here, I see the straight line. In the word glyphs of also in the phrase, each blank space should be considered like a letter. So we would have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And we already have 12 divisions here. You can follow the same or you can make something new. So you can make 6 lines on the left, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 lines on the right. And then within this or on top of this line, you can write glyphs. I'm writing these much smaller. And all you have to see is the small phrase starts in the same place, same distance on the left of center as it ends on the right of center. That's all. And remember, we're doing this by hand, so a little 19 is okay. So now I'm going to write this in pen. I'm using a 0.3, but you can write you can use a smaller one as well. Make sure that the heights of the letters are as similar as you can make them. And for the word Mayan, you could consider making these slightly squarish, rounded letters to match a little bit of the style of their own letters. You can keep the letters even slightly crooked, just ever so slightly organic. But I would suggest make this only for the word Mayan and go back to regular lettering for civilization. The two reasons for that being, civilization is a very long word, and if you write that in this fancy style, then the whole importance of Mayan will be snatched away. It will look too clunky. Half the time, good design is knowing when to not do something, not overdoing your lettering or designs. Once this is dry, you can erase the lines. In the place you have left underneath the bird, you can make a little color swatch sample that will look nice. You can make something like this. The colors are fairly simple. You can paint them in the order in which you use them also. That's one way you can remember whether you use the black first, or the red first, or the green first. And you can write the names of the colors in pencil to match the tone of the lighter, less important elements. They don't compete with each other. So here you have cerulean plus emerald. Remember that this is just for you. The composition is for the pleasure of anyone who leaves through your books, but the details are only for you. There we go. So you get this information, but it's not overpowering. Now comes the date. For the date also, you can write the date right here in line with these letters. So we complete the frame. You can write it in numbers or words, or you can just write it like this: 3 DEC 24, and you could try to match this height to some of the existing letters. You can write it just in pencil so that it's not too prominent. Even pencil lines can last for decades on paper, so you really don't need to press too much or make it indelible. Now, once you complete this picture, every time you look at your page, you'll be satisfied and really happy that everything has order, there is space planned out, and everything looks like it is. Then the comments you get will be, oh, this looks like it's printed. And often the reason why things look like they're printed are not because necessarily the quality of the art as much as just the organization of the information on paper. Because in printed work, you notice that there is a graphic designer who has put everything in place. You can see certain formulas at work. And then when you see that in a handwritten book and someone says it's printed, it's only because those things have been given attention. Okay, so that's it. We have run over time a little bit. Let's see how your pages are looking. And through the week, you can make the rest of the design as well. I'm going to try and do it, but I don't want to overcommit. Yes, let's see. That's nice. Good. You leave a little room, Shreya, between the letters. Don't touch the letters to each other.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Everything I think got little moved.
Yeah, never touch letters to each other. You need a little breathing room. So all of those things have a significance. When letters are touching each other, they tend to look very aggressive. Like everything is fighting with each other. When all the letters are the same size, again, that looks very aggressive. They seem to be screaming at you. That's not wrong, You need to know that you should do that when that purpose is called for. Sometimes you don't realize, oh, how do I show screaming letters? And you start thinking of all sorts of forms for the letters. No, just stack them really big, one on top of the other, and give them a nice bright color tone. And it looks like the letters are screaming. It's the sense that we have to catch, not necessarily show it in the graphic form. Okay, so that's it. Would you like to show your work, or if you can just put it on the group, then all of us can enjoy it. And again, I'm going to encourage you to finish the page and put it on the group so that it pressures everyone to do that. Okay, very nice. How lovely. Very nice, Bhavani. Looking good.
Aditi, would you please also share your page's picture?
Yes, I'll do that. I'll share that right away, and also will be putting that as the thumbnail with the video. I'll share this page for sure. Okay, so thank you. Next week we will definitely be doing rose mulling. This is the art form of Scandinavia. So if you have any information on that, please pull that out and we can share that. Okay, bye then. I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye bye.